Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I just watched Pariah Nexus, and while there are some flaws, it's surprisingly awesome. In Pariah Nexus, we follow some survivors of the now lost battle that we saw during the trailer for 9th edition. This group of survivors includes a battle sister, a guardsman, a salamander, and some citizens, who now collectively try to reach the last remaining loyalist forces on the outskirts of the city. Their quest is complicated, however, as they not only have to fight their way through a city filled with mind-shackled scarab zombies created by Lunar Zeras, but they also have to evade the Deadmark sniper that is hunting them. Now let me just start off with the elephant in the room, the biggest flaw of this show and a new level of cheapness for Games Workshop: the fucking chapter breaks. Every couple minutes, or especially during the first episode, every couple seconds, there's this weird break in the animation during which a chapter number is displayed. Basically, the screen goes black and very, very slowly a number appears. This really breaks up the flow and immersion of the show while serving no other purpose than to just artificially boost up the runtime. It feels a bit like watching a modern YouTube video, where every other scene in the video gets interrupted by a random ad. Really wish they hadn't done this, but fortunately it could easily be fixed, so maybe we will see a director's cut version come out in the future. The other flaw was much more minor, but does tie into this. The show feels quite a bit rushed towards the ending. I feel like this easily could have been 4 or 5 episodes, with 2 episodes of setup, 1 episode of travel, and 1 or 2 conclusion episodes. Instead, we have 2 episodes of introduction and then 1 very packed 3rd episode, in which every reveal and every arc and conclusion gets crammed together. I understand these shows can be expensive, so maybe it was decided to limit the episode number for cost saving. But if so, I really hope Games Workshop will change this philosophy in the future. That being said, I really loved how much lore and story they were able to cram into these episodes, while also giving us plenty of flashing, great looking fight scenes. There's some exploration of the Imperium zealotry, we see the main strengths and weaknesses of the Necrons exemplified, the Battle Sister has a nice character arc, which also contains some commentary. With Bathelloren, I felt like there was a lot of smashy with very little plot, but here some thought had clearly been put into writing something interesting. The sound and animation were surprisingly good too. It is no Astartes, but it's starting to get to that level. The weapons feel like they pack a punch, the voice acting is decent, music works well enough, and the animation is visually pleasing. And it fits the lore too. Necrons move clunky and determined, the Space Marine is fast as fuck, and power levels seem to be decently accurate. So yeah, I can't wait to see more factions fleshed out in 3D. Another big thing I really liked was that this show is distinctly Warhammer, and doesn't shy away from its grim darkness. In recent years, especially the American audience has become very sensitive and conservative. As a result of this, many companies have started to change their IP to make it more bland and corporate. They will remove quirky or unique aspects in favor of replacing them with basic, tried and tested ideas. But this is a bit like going to an ice cream stand and replacing the bubblegum, carrot and tiger tail flavors with vanilla. Sure, nobody is going to be offended with vanilla ice cream, but the people who like these more distinct flavors are going to find the modern ice cream stand a lot less enjoyable. Pariah Nexus, however, does not do this at all. Just to give an example, the first instinct of our protagonist's battle sister upon finding civilians is to execute them on the spot. After all, they decided to run away from a fight instead of charging the Necron hordes. And of course, only the unfaithful would be attacked by the vile Xenos. Similar to Hell's Reach, she almost comes to blows with the Salamander over this discussion. The combat too is brutal. Bolters have always been described as weapons that blow off half a human, and in this show they really do. And just in general, the plot is really dark. I would even argue that the ending maybe starts to lean into the grimdark territory, but altogether I'm really happy with how the show portrayed the 40k setting. So altogether, I will give Pariah Nexus 4 to 5 stars. The visuals look great, the audio is good, and while it is no Shakespeare, the plot is surprisingly interesting for 40k. The setting of 40k is very well represented, and this could serve as a good introduction for a newbie, especially with how well it exemplifies the core identity of the various factions. The only major annoyance is the constant chapter screen breaks, for which I really can't fathom what type of person decided it would be a fun idea to include them. Regardless, it is definitely worth a watch, especially for Salamander and Sororitas fans. I'd then like to thank you for watching. If you like the content, please consider subscribing or joining us on Patreon. Otherwise, have a nice evening, and don't forget your nightly prayers to Nagash.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing and click ringing the bell to appease the Great Horned Rat. For more lore content, please check my main channel and leave any book recommendations in the comments down below. I gotta get back to reading the next book.